Charge!
Whoa,
This is
what
fine. Oh my god, it's
Oh,
what a save!
that?
Okay.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the All Skills Tournament. We have a couple more matches today, and up next we have MrGreeZ versus Raziel. Both of these two runners, very experienced, and both of them undefeated so far.
Yep, so it looks like this is going to be a really awesome race. I am X, also known as Bob. My co-commentator for this one is going to be Rory Rye. And Rory, why don't you tell us a little bit about these two?
Alright, so, as I said, we have GreeZ and Raziel. Let's start with Raziel. Raziel's been around for a long time. He was in the last tournament and is actually the source of one of the nice memes that we have in this community with regards to a certain area of the game, which the runners will be going through. And he's really experienced, really fast runner. I expect to see some good things out of him. You want to introduce GreeZ for us, Bob?
Yeah, sure. So, hailing from France, GreeZ is currently a very experienced runner. He's been around for quite a while. His PB, as you can see, is a 34:33, and looking at the times, you would obviously favor Raziel, but as we've all seen throughout this tournament, anything can happen in this game. It's a very dynamic game, and so having a time in the mid to low 30s is not anything to scoff at, especially not in a race setting.
Agreed. It's the route has gotten significantly faster within the last few months as well, so those times both very respectable. But I think I have to give an edge to Raziel in this race. I think he'll just have cleaner movement and be a little bit faster. So we're going to be getting underway shortly here.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with giving Raziel the upper hand in this one. But also, before this match, I had a nice bowl of spaghetti. So if we see some more spaghetti in this race, then you never know what's going to come out of that. So it looks like we are getting started. Looking for those color codes, of course. I'm really hoping we get a hot pink. Raziel.
We do. Raziel gets it first try, and then he goes away. He switched off. Raziel, please.
Raziel, no.
Raziel, no. It begins already.
Alright, so starting off, you guys have seen this twice already today if you've been around. Hopping and jumping our way to wall jump. Or not wall jump, the sign. Eventually to wall jump after sign. Technically we're going. But yeah.
Basically even here. GreeZ very slight lead after that Rhino, so we will expect to see this really just even up and stay even for a little while in this early game. But I would be really surprised if there were too many crazy lead changes. Obviously, we don't want to see anything like a big death or anything in the early game. We really just want to see nice clean wall jump splits here. So Raziel taking a little bit of an edge again after that Frunky fight, and I think that really comes down to the difference in input devices. Raziel using keyboard and mouse does have the option of scroll wheel shooting for Spirit Flame, whereas GreeZ uses controller, so he doesn't have that. His options are either to mash manually or to just pace his shots out. And that gives Raziel this couple second advantage that you see here, heading in towards this first ghost door. So GreeZ taking a little bit of damage there, which may or may not have been intentional. Obviously, we do want to get down to 1 health here, and our runners both running with the UI off, as most of us tend to do. So they're having to just keep track of all of this this health and experience information in their heads. Raziel, nice job through the ghost door. He is going to take this detour here to pick up this 4th health cell. He will only be getting a total of 5 health, which is the bare minimum to complete the run to make it through the poison water. MrGreeZ will also be taking an extra 6th health, so we'll see a divergence there later in the route as he wants to pick up that extra safety.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with the decision to go 6 health. It's what I do personally, and it just, if anything at all goes wrong in that final escape or later on in the run, you know that you can count on having that extra safety net. And especially in tournament races, that's a huge one-up if anything happens at the end.
I definitely agree with that. I know sometimes those fish cycles in the final escape can be a little bit weird in my experience, so just having that extra safety net of I can take an extra second in the water and be alright is just it's nice. But Raziel, confident that he doesn't need that.
Yeah, Raziel is the type of runner that I would expect to go for those more dangerous strats, and so we'll see those starting up in a couple of minutes here as we get into some of the more dangerous areas, just going for those little time saves that add up over time. But we also have to keep in mind that that's one of the things that can also potentially lose time. If you happen to make a mistake on something small like that, then that might be just an opportunity for your opponent to catch up more. So it looks like there's about a 6-second difference at wall jump, as expected. That's probably going to stay similar through the first, at least 2 dash, maybe differ by a couple of seconds here or there. But the starting split, as long as nobody dies, it tends to not differ by more than, say, 10 seconds or so.
Yes, and,
So Rory, what are your thoughts on this next upcoming area of Blackroot's? How do you feel about it?
on Blackroot, I feel like the more experience you get, the less dangerous Blackroot really becomes. It's really sort of notorious for killing runs, and there are so many things that can just say no. But I feel like once you get sort of the muscle memory down, you get the movement down, there's not a lot that's really super threatening. So I would expect to see some good movement here through this area from Raziel and MrGreeZ.
Yeah, I'm also going to say that Blackroot is one of those areas where you can go through and think that you're doing everything perfectly, and then you don't realize that maybe you dropped a second here or there, and all of a sudden you're down 5 seconds and you're trying to figure out what happened to that. Where'd everything go?
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
doing so well.
I think it's especially true because this area is so cycle based. You can make one tiny little mistake and you just suddenly are dropping cycles all over the place. I know earlier I had a run where I placed a save to do a cycle minute a little bit too early and dropped 3 cycles because of it.
Raziel, no! Ooh, Raziel taking a quick death there. It means that he's going to have to go back and grab the orb. That's going to be a very small minor lead change, as we see MrGreeZ doing the exact same. Getting stuck in those pits in between the pillars is a killer.
Yeah, those pillars, sometimes I swear they have ice physics on them. You think you're gonna land on it, and nope, you just sort of fall off to one side, and if you fall off behind it, you're just done.
Yep. It's possible to drop the orb and then climb back up and take a little bit of damage and make it through that way, but it almost never works, and if it does, you're left with 1 health and the slime snipe afterwards.
But I think nice cycle from MrGreeZ there, not having to wait on that platform at all. Raziel had to spend a little bit more time because his cycle was slightly slower.
Yeah, and that'll happen if you take a death, especially where he did. The cycle's on the right side, get all out of whack, and that's what I was talking about earlier, where you make one small slip up and all of a sudden you're dropping 5, 6, 7 seconds, and you don't know where it went.
And it went to these all these 8-second cycles. Every cycle in here is 8 seconds long. So we like to manipulate them as best we can in order to hit them optimally. It's really about all that you can do in this area to optimize your speed at all, because you're so limited by carrying the orb.
Yeah. So now they're going to go for their darkness cutscene. Hopefully they both get it. I know in the past some people have had issues with this, usually just from trying to skip the cutscene too soon or too late or something like that. So hopefully, wink wink, nothing happens.
Hopefully. See, I always find this cutscene interesting because while I've heard all the horror stories about it not working to get that skip, I've never had any trouble with it myself. So
Yeah, I was the same way until like 2 weeks ago when I tried doing it once, tried doing it a little bit faster and then just didn't work, so.
but it seems
tend
like
to just-
everyone has their own method that works for them to not get a failed cutscene skip there. This is actually looking like only a 2-second time difference as of the dash tree coming into Frankie Walk now, so we'll see how this goes. This and the next upcoming area are really just notorious for killing Ori very easily.
Yeah, and especially if our runners go for some crazy things like Death Glide or going for the God Cycle. There's always the chance of getting that one frame, and MrGreeZ getting his Frankie stuck, but manages to get it out pretty
And
quickly.
because of that, we have a lead change. Raziel now in the lead after a little bit of Frankie trouble for MrGreeZ. But it's still only a couple seconds. This could all very easily change. What with the Death Gauntlet coming up right now, and then we've got things like Grotto Cycle and all the other tricks right after that.
Yeah.
Nice dash
Ooh.
glide from Raziel there.
I've never actually made that personally. That always looks crazy to me, that people can do that. You have to delay the jump off of that so long to get under the stalactite. It's spooky.
And it doesn't even save all that much time as opposed to just killing the brambles, which is the crazy thing.
Alright, MrGreeZ lining up for his early cycle. He makes it very nicely.
Nice. So
We're
if
going
we'll
for
now
that.
have to watch for MrGreeZ as for whether or not he's able to get that cycle. If not, that'll be an 8-second gap opening up for Raziel.
Misses it. Oh, those jumps up the wall. If you're just a little bit shy, it kills you right away. There's no way of getting in there.
Yep.
So that's gonna be 8 seconds up for Raziel, plus the little bit of extra time that getting the funky stuff will be. Still nothing too major, especially considering what they have to go through coming up soon. Meanwhile, Raziel is doing some blind movement off screen. We'll see how far up he makes, about halfway up that wall. Very nice movement from him. And we'll be moving on to another energy cell as well as the grotto skip.
And Grotto Skip is going to be another potential opportunity for some time differences in either direction. It's not very costly to miss, only a couple seconds, but... And Raziel gets a first try.
Yes, dude, nice first try.
So... so we're going to have to look for MrGreeZ to also be getting that first try in order to not fall a little bit further behind.
Yep, and these are the sort of things that we were talking about, expecting Raziel to nail some of the slightly trickier things more often, or I want to say less effortlessly, but not exactly. Just and MrGreeZ gets it
Oh.
very nicely as well.
That looked really clean from
Yeah.
MrGreeZ. Even got the XP orb at the top of the Grotto Skip. Raziel picking up his water vein. He'll be making his way over to the Ginso tree now, where we'll actually get to use this very slight amount of vertical height that double jump gives in order to actually
Verticality.
climb the tree.
Gotta love verticality.
Of course.
Alright, so Ginso Tree for me is one of those areas that I tend to lose all of my runs to. Because it's just unforgiving. It's tight jump after tight jump, followed by spiky things and shooty things and slimy things and walls that don't like me. So, do you think we're gonna see any unfortunate mishaps in Ginso Tree?
I really hope not, to be honest. I think Ginso is like the area where I feel like a player's platforming really gets tested for the first time in the game. And both of these two are, of course, really experienced, so I would hope to see no issues from them. Raziel just taking a slight detour for this teleporter, and then he'll be coming up on the entrance to the dungeon in a few
Meanwhile, Gree's making his way up this nice area, lots of wall jumps, going through the iceless area to pick up some experience, and he'll be making his way over to the Ginso tree momentarily as well.
Notice both of the runners do come and take this slight detour for this ability cell up here at the top of the tree that GreeZ is getting now, which would indicate that they're both going to be going for Terra Breaks in their runs. I know MrGreeZ at least is capable of doing Crazy Juggle, but it seems like just taking the safer, more consistent route.
Yeah, and that's definitely a decision that we'll be seeing, I would assume, almost everybody, if not everybody, in this tournament take, just because Crazy Juggle is so much risk for such a little reward that taking the extra little bit of time for Terra Break is much more consistent.
Agreed. I would go so far as to say that it's a little bit crazy to not.
Just a little bit. So it looks like about 40 seconds of difference between these runners entering Ginso. As expected, some of the smaller optimizations that MrGreeZ is able to do with the more experience and more fine-tuning that he has, paying off a little bit here. But he's coming up on some crazy difficult things, so it's not something that he can just sit tight and ride out to the end, because you never know where that spaghetti might come out.
That's a very good point. So our stats guys are telling us that GreeZ was 8 seconds ahead of his PB entering Ginso. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on that time throughout the. Oh no!
Oh, the value safety save!
Just as I say something. GreeZ, please. Fortunately, he did have that safety save there, so he doesn't lose too much from that. That is still really unfortunate.
That is still a very valuable safety save, though. A lot of people tend to not save in the Ginso tree, and that death would have been so much more costly if you didn't.
Yeah, if you don't place safety saves like that, you will get sent all the way back to the start of the tree where it auto saves.
Yeah. Alright, in the meantime, MrGreeZ has picked up Bash. Rory, how do you feel about Bash?
I like Bash. Bash is a really, really interesting skill. I like the high risk, high reward playstyle that it encourages, because it makes you want to get close to things that kill you, instead of running away from them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like Ori is sort of divided up into sections where different movement styles work with each section, and once you pick up Bash, instead of avoiding things and trying to take as little damage as possible and stay out of the way of everything, as we did in the first part of the game, now all of a sudden we're launching headfirst at them, flying through the air, dodging spikes and everything, and it gets a lot more interesting in my opinion.
Agreed, and pretty much everything in this game can be bashed off of. So...
Except for spikes. I wish you could bash off the spikes.
Well, it depends. If they're brambles, then you can bash off them.
This is true. Alright, so MrGreeZ got himself a nice clean key dupe, followed by some hyperspeed into the mini-boss. GreeZ is just hitting the bash tree now. And it looks like a little over a minute of difference between them. And now MrGreeZ is going to be moving on to his swamp entry.
Swamp entry gonna be the next sort of really challenging spot of the run, where I would expect to see the sort of time difference change a little bit, maybe. Because first try swamp entry is definitely a significant time save over multiple tries.
Yes, this is true. And even like multiple tries on just the small parts, not like the entire trick on its own. But if you miss a frog shot, that's a few seconds. If your frog shot glitches through a platform, that's a few seconds. If you take an extra damage and have to get out of the way of the frog to save and heal up, that's a couple extra seconds, so it's a lot of little things that add up with this particular trick as well.
And of course, MrGreeZ gonna be taking the double bash method for this trick because he is on keyboard and mouse and does have that available to him. Gets it first try.
Wow, that was very clean.
Very nicely done. No frog shot going through the platform shenanigans.
Gotta say, I'm a little disappointed. I'm a big fan of glitchy frog shots.
How about glitchy frogs? The frog itself can fall through the platform as
Yes.
well.
I
When
mean,
that happens, you're just sad.
the frogs are magical in this game. They can do whatever they like.
Frogs are indeed wizards.
Teleporting, disappearing.
Teleporting, falling through floors, shooting through walls. Meanwhile, Raziel picking up Stomp as MrGreeZ teleporting back to Grotto, making his way towards his own swamp entry. So we'll see a little bit of a high five in just a few seconds here, as MrGreeZ will be going into swamp and Raziel coming out of it.
Yep, and Stomp is, in my opinion, it's one of those skills that's very underrated compared to other skills. The downwards movement boost that you get from it, very clearly much faster than just falling, but it's much faster than just falling. But also using it to stomp cancel and other things like that. Oh, MrGreeZ! Oh! He kills his frog, has a little trouble there, and Raziel dies to a laser.
Dies to the laser, so he's gonna have to do this frog ability cell grab again.
Yep,
Oh,
synchronized deaths there.
Swamp entry. So both of them doing a different trick with the same frog. This is a really, really convenient frog.
Yes. And the frog magically teleporting between their games to give them both trouble, of course. It's definitely the same frog. Raziel goes for the Kuro cutscene skip and nails it first try. I mean, he bashed off of something, and there was nothing there. Barely.
Because he got it, we don't see anything. MrGreeZ making his attempted swamp entry. He's got the frog in the right position, looks good, and he's through.
Yep, and you'll have noticed that he used a slightly different method. I believe it's a little bit slower, but a lot of people also find it more consistent, as you don't need to use double bashes for it.
The double bashing method is really, I think, only consistent for players using keyboard and mouse like Raziel is. Without that sort of extra help on the inputs, it's a really difficult trick to pull off.
Yeah. So, Raziel comes up to the Charge Flame tree, MrGreeZ comes up to the Stomp tree, almost synchronized trees, and Raziel's going to be moving into Valley of the Wind, where we're going to be looking for his attempt at fast Stompless, and then following that, right immediately into Sorrow Bonds.
Absolutely, we're about to see the run just really sort of take off in terms of movement capabilities. If this movement wasn't fast enough already, it's about to get a lot faster in just a minute for Raziel.
But of course, before that, he has Fast Stompless. Very scary trick, even for top runners. It's one of those ones where if your shot angle on the projectile is off by just a little bit, or your movement is a little slow, or the bird doesn't cooperate, then all of a sudden, you don't have a cell. You're standing at Feather thinking, why have I done this? And now you gotta go all the way back around to fix that.
Of course, if something were to happen on Raziel's Stompless, he could always attempt like a crazy juggle backup or something.
This is true.
I expect to see him just nail this trick, personally.
Yeah, actually no, never mind, that's not even true with the new route. I was gonna say he's not gonna have the ability points for Charge Dash, but he does, because he grabbed that one outside as well.
And Raz is now racing away from that shot, trying to unload a wall in the way and see if he gets to the cell, and it's good.
Nice.
First try from Raziel.
Meanwhile, MrGreeZ got his Kuro cutscene skip first try, no problem, and he's going to be making his way into Charge Flame. We didn't talk a lot about Charge Flame, mostly because it doesn't really do much, but what it does do is allow us to level up farther in the ability tree, and that lets us do a lot.
Yeah, I would argue that it's pretty important to get Charge Flame, if only because it lets us get to the best skill, the best ability in the game. That, of course, being Charge Dash, which you see Raziel making liberal use of, both in the form of rocket jumps and in the Sorrow Bash right now.
Ooh, it was a little close.
Nice double bash to save that.
makes it through first try. And now he's going to use this frog, magically teleport its shot upwards by jumping really fast. And then he's going to be on to charge jump.
Oh,
following
Raziel with
that.
the charge dashes in the Dorito cave here. That takes guts. All of these spikes in Sorrow Pass, of course, do 4 damage, and Raziel will die in 1 hit
Yep, very
if
spooky.
he hits them.
Also, can I propose after Mr. Randomson told us that he likes Pringles? Can I propose changing that to the Pringle Pit? Because I'm a big fan of Pringles myself.
Well, certainly our stats guys don't like that.
Oh, we've got the Sunchip Sanctuary. Whew.
I think we're,
Can we just call it the Terra Cave and be done with it?
See, that's interesting because I'm pretty sure, I saw someone post a picture of Terra chips in Discord the other day. So that is not an unreasonable name. Alright, but back on track with this race. MrGreeZ has successfully gotten a fast Stompless. He's picking up Glide while Raziel is all the way at the top of Sorrow Pass, grabbing the Sunstone before he heads back down toward Misty.
Yep, and of course, Sunstone used to get into Horror, the final dungeon of the game. Very handy to make sure you actually pick that up. Not that anybody has ever missed picking that up before. Ever.
No, I don't know why anyone would ever miss the Sunstone.
And
It's not
GreeZ
like-
is gonna have his own attempt at Sorrow Pass. Looks good, makes it through first try. Very
Great
nice
stuff
done.
from MrGreeZ as well. Raziel making his entrance into Misty Woods. This is really now time to just sort of sit back and watch the beauty of this movement, because it's so nice to just see the top runners doing Misty movement.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I think Roos's Loose put it best when he said that this is the area where we get to flex our speedrunning muscles, because we've got all of the movement tech that we're going to have in the game, aside from grenade jumps. Cough, Hydra, cough.
And some
this
people
is
even
where-
have grenade jumps here.
Yeah. And so this is where we get to use that movement tech in very flashy ways, dodging 3 damage spikes, bashing off of things, doing crazy rocket jumps here and there.
Ooh, a little bit of a dash into the spikes there from Raziel, but that extra 4th health coming in handy, keeping him alive there. Spikes only deal 3 damage.
Yep. Meanwhile, GreeZ has made it all the way to charge jump, making it through no problem. He's going to be going up to the Sunstone, and Raziel has just picked up a climb, which is also not super useful aside from grenade jump.
That's a good point, but setting up this GreeZ setting up his Terror Break. This area with the Save Anywhere up, a little bit spooky because it's hard to see where the terrain is, and of course it all one-shots you.
Yep. Sometimes I find it a little bit unfortunate that we have to, ghost storing there is faster, because otherwise you could just drop a save at the top and not have to save anywhere through here. But that's a little bit slower. That's not faster.
Nope. It looks like he makes it through to get his Terror Break alright, and he's now heading up to Sunstone.
In the meantime, Raziel, if you blinked, you missed it. He's pretty much done Misty Woods. He's just got one mini boss to take care of. Makes it through the meatball corridor.
I love that rocket jump so much.
It's so satisfying.
It looks so cool.
And we'll see what kill method he goes
Don't
with.
blink, because there's a mini boss here.
Little bit of a mistake, not too bad though. He gets it in 1.1 cycles. And he'll be fast on his way to Light Grenade, the final skill.
And of course the final skill necessary for grenade jumps as well.
Of
Pretty
course.
much the only thing that it's useful for.
Unless you're playing the randomizer, but that's
But-
an entirely different story.
We are definitely not doing that.
If we are, then this is a great seed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very vanilla. But GreeZ tried to dodge around that platform, but just hit the ledge there. He's gonna make his way out of Sorrow Pass, preferably without hitting spikes or anything.
Oh, he gets the Wilhelm
He gets the
frog.
Wilhelm frog. So heading down into Misty, places that safety save. I like that decision.
Yeah. I will take safety over speed in tournament races anytime.
Yep. If I were doing PB attempts, then obviously that energy goes towards moving fast, but this is a tournament setting. It's more important to have the consistency.
Yep. And Raziel makes it through the old-fashioned father cutscene, and is now on to the light grenade tree, and then he will do a little bit of cool movement to get out of here and be fast on the way to Horror Mountain, where he's gonna save the forest from the giant evil grot.
It looks like he is gonna go for these grenade jumps. Oh, nice! Into the dash glide too, over the slow zone. That was really, really neat from Raziel there. So we should see some rocket jumps coming out here as well. Looks like only one wasn't quite able to get through to the second rocket jump off of that slime before he moved out of range.
Raziel, no! Oh, wait.
Oh no,
Wrong
no,
race.
Raziel, yes.
Raziel, yes!
He picks up his 5th health and is now teleporting back to Swamp as MrGreeZ picks up Climb.
I've gotta say, Raziel is moving at lightning speed, and so it looks like MrGreeZ is going slower than he actually is. He's still having a really, really solid run. His movement has been on point. He's struggled with a couple of tricks, but aside from that, he's been killing this one. Very impressive stuff.
That is for sure. Oh, takes a hit in those spikes there. Just doesn't quite stomp on the platform.
Why did I say anything?
Fortunately, he has a safety save place that is not all the way back at Climb.
Yep, that's one of my favorite safety saves.
Raziel about to take a crack at Door Warp. Of course, a frame-perfect input to skip all of Horror Dungeon, because why on earth would we want to do that?
Is it first try? It is first
try.
Holy.
Nice, that's always what you want to see from... It's not costly to retry, but it can be a little bit taxing mentally if you just miss it over and over.
Yeah. It's one of those tricks where if you are like not feeling confident about it, it will tear you up for minutes at a time. But all it takes is one attempt that you're just like, I'm gonna do this right now, and you're in. It's wonderful.
MrGreeZ with a really nice mini-boss kill there. It's one of the older quick kill methods, but it's still very effective.
And now Raziel coming up to the poison water and final escape.
Remember, he's only got 5 health, no room for error here.
And no
he gets
room
through,
either.
only 4 damage.
So now he's up to the final inputs of the run, going for that grenade jump. Setup looks good. He's up. He's in there. That is going to be the victory for Raziel. Very, very nice run from him.
So Raziel now just holding right. MrGreeZ, meanwhile, making his way to Light Grenade, not too far behind. This is still a really good pace from MrGreeZ here.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm actually really impressed. I personally haven't watched much of MrGreez's runs or his play before, but after this I'm definitely going to. This is some really nice stuff coming out of him.
It really is, I have to agree. Gets the laser cycles on the way down to Light Grenade. Always a good feeling.
And it looks like final time from Raziel, 31-14. He'll be advancing with the win, and I've got to say a really, really nice time, especially for a tournament run.
It really is. It's hard to keep the times consistently low in these tournament settings, I've found. Because like, you want to go really fast, but it's more about making sure that you stay safe.
Yeah. And it's even more impressive, in my opinion, coming off of the last tournament, because at that point a run like this would have been absolutely nuts. But of course we've got some more small optimizations that are even more difficult. than they were before. Just
Nice
adding-
rocket jump there from Greez. One of those small optimizations as opposed to just sort of charge jumping and wall climbing up.
I've never actually made that rocket jump.
I've made it like once or twice, but never after doing the first one. So
On his
Greez
way to horror,
approaching Horu Fields.
do you think he's gonna go for 6 health?
Yeah, he will be going for 6
Absolutely.
health. It's only the really crazy people who do 5 in tournaments, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand it in PB attempts, you gotta save those extra 3 or 4 seconds, but like, in a tournament setting, I'd pay 3 seconds to not take a death in poison water any day.
Absolutely. And I think the only time that I would ever consider 5 health to be a much better choice is when you know that your opponent is on the same skill level as you, are going to be finishing around the same time as you, and you're pretty positive that they're going to be going 5 health.
Greez doesn't get it first try on that
Works.
door warp. A little bit early.
2.
Second try a little bit late there.
Third try a little early again. As we said, the more attempts you give into door warp, the harder it becomes, but 4 is the
Fourth
magic
try,
number.
and fortunately, that death in the fire doesn't actually cost much at all, because once you get the door warp, the game just puts you down there when you respawn.
Very happy it does that. That would stink so much. Trying door warp, 20 tries, finally get it, fall into the lava, have to do it again. No, thank you.
Alright, Greez starting up his final escape. As always, we can't see any damage here. Taking damage is an immediate failed escape. Looking good so far. Oh, wow. Okay, and there's that damage. It looked like he just sort of fell through that stomp platform. The stomp didn't actually stop when he hit the platform. He just kept going.
Yeah, these platforms are a
Expecting that.
little finicky with that. I'm not entirely sure what causes you to just go straight through them, but it happens like 20% of the time. And
It
you
always
forgot
happens
when you want it
not
to.
expecting it. He's making it through the poison water. Only took 4 damage. That.
But he spawns
oh,
Kuro. We'll see
Nice
if he
dash
knows.
under that meteor there.
We'll see if he knows the backup to despawn Kuro, and I think he did, but he might have
He went
accidentally
for
gone
it. It
too
was
far.
a little bit too far right.
So we're gonna get to hold right a little bit longer.
Uh, so this is the full cutscene at the end, where Sign begs Ori to get up and go float down towards the spirit tree. We usually skip most of this with that grenade jump and get straight into the end. Kuro is grabbing Ori, but
Yeah, if you've never seen the normal ending cutscene, then you'll see exactly why we do grenade jump with this. How much time it actually saves, even if you get it on your 3rd or 4th try.
absolutely, it's somewhere in the vicinity of 35 seconds of time save, because you don't have to do any of this that Greez is doing right now. No walking right. The grenade jump will skip to right about here.
Still not quite as fast as the any percent method, though.
Well, we don't do those tricks in this category.
They definitely break the category rules of out of bounds and teleport anywhere.
So, seeing
Oh,
some Naru hops coming
hops.
out from Greez. Naru
Sway
hops
Jones.
slightly slower, but
What are you talking
not
about? It's so much faster.
significantly. 36:41 final time from Greez.
Excellent run from him. Keep in mind, that's just barely over 2 minutes off of his personal best, which is still an exceptional run. MrGreeZ was in the same vicinity of around 2 minutes. So, you can see the little bit of difference in skill and also in how much time they've put into this, their experience. MrGreeZ, of course, comes out with the win, and good job to both of them, really.
Yeah, really, really great stuff. So MrGreeZ moving up to 2-0 in the group. MrGreeZ is now finished with his races 2-1, with a 36:41, that best race time that he just put up now. That's going to be pretty solid for moving onward in bracket stage seeding. And, actually, MrGreeZ also with a best race time. So we're now going to bring in MrGreeZ for a bit of an interview here. How's it going, MrGreeZ? Congrats on your win.
Yo guys, thanks. It's going well, I think.
Yeah, feeling good after that one?
I had a terrible early game. That death in BRB cost me like 30 seconds. I was really aiming for that 30 for the tournament, but I think apart from that, I remember that I died to the laser as well, leaving out of swamp, but apart from that, I think it was pretty okay.
Yeah, it looked like you had some really, really clean stuff later on in the run.
Yeah, I always have a lot of trouble on early game, to be honest. Late game, I'm usually more consistent.
Yeah, I've got to say your save on Sorrow Bash when the bird came in really low, the extra double bash just to pull him up, I really like that.
Yeah, I always do double bashing with C, and although I have bash also binded to a button in the mouse, but I always grab that bird with the C just for that specific reason. When it's too low, I do a double bash instead.
Yeah,
It's interesting. I know if you don't have double bashing set up to be able to go off of the sort of default key that you use for bashing, it can be hard to sort of adapt to, because you have to know to double bash before you do it. So
Exactly.
good awareness there, I'd say, to know that you need to do that sometimes. Paid off.
and we are also joined by MrGreeZ. MrGreeZ, how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm tired.
Tired? Oh, I've got to say, you had a really nice run. A couple of unfortunate things like the swamp entry, and
Yeah.
a little bit after charge jump, but I mean, all around that was still really nice.
Thank you.
That's-
Actually, when I saw the BRB I did, it was a bit there was a lot of spaghettis. So as soon as I saw Raz on his stream at the same level as me, whereas there is a 50 seconds delay between us, I already knew that it will be a hard run. Yeah.
I also died in BRB and lost like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I was wondering because we are like on the same pace in BRB, I think.
Yeah, I think you were a bit ahead, I
almost.
think.
Yeah, MrGreeZ, you were slightly ahead after BRB.
Okay.
The thing that turned it around at that point was the small Frankie getting caught under that ledge.
Yeah.
Hate that Frankie.
By the
Alright.
way, I have to say that to everyone complaining, Grotto God Cycle is free. Come on, guys.
Oh, okay. Shots fired from MrGreeZ there.
Alright,
I don't even try it because it's too free. It's too free for me.
I've
too
got
easy.
an important question for you two.
Yes.
Pringles or Doritos?
I love Doritos.
Dashing through Doritos. That's the real deal.
The charge dash through the Doritos was super nice. I'm probably gonna be pushing to change that to the Pringle. Oh, what was it? Oh, it was
Whatever
Pringle
it was,
something.
it wasn't good enough for me to
The Pringle
remember it.
Pit. The Pringle Pit. So, MrGreeZ, you have finished your 3 matches. MrGreeZ, you still have another one coming up. How are you feeling for that one?
I'm fine being second.
I think it should be okay. I was really aiming on getting a 30 this race so that I could maybe do what's 20 seconds on the last race. But I think I'm still gonna try to improve my best race time because it will matter for the bracket stage.
Yep, and congrats to both of you guys on your best race times.
GG Rez.
Both of you from this race.
GG Grease.
And with that, I think we are going to be getting the next race set up. We have one more race coming up for you guys today, and that is going to be Sully and Vingard. That'll be brought to you guys by Hobbs and Covert Muffin on commentary.
Oh, that'll be a great one to watch. Should
That'll
really stick
be a
around for
race
that.
to watch for sure. So thank you to Bob for joining me on commentary.
Thank you.
And thanks to our truck, Hobbs and Nans. And stick around for this last race coming up.
Thanks again, guys.